Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 6th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 27 live feeds. It was day 29 in the house, and genuinely, it was a very eventful day. Not that anything is necessarily changing with the votes, but allegiances crashing out and trash talk, I think, are all going on, changing, and all that kind of stuff. And with me to talk about it all is Matt. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, all of the above, as you just mentioned, plus a little bit of goo. We'll talk about the goo. I kind of wish that I maybe got gooed as well, so that I'd have like to clean out my eyes and not be able to watch some of the train wreck that's been going on. But yeah, another very eventful day in the Big Brother 27 house.
Yes, a lot to get to for sure. Of course, Mickey, the HOH, nominated Keanu, Kelly, and Rylie. Keanu won the veto, and Mickey replaced him with Jimmy. And ever since, she has become more and more upset and genuinely just hateful of Jimmy in ways that are making people feel pretty uncomfortable. The audience, at least, and some of the people in the house. One of those people being Ashley. And so we started the day with Ashley talking to Ava. And we missed a lot of this conversation through feed cuts, so there's definitely a possibility that there was a little bit more to this. But the basics that we were mostly able to see were that Ashley talks to Ava about wanting to keep Jimmy, but even more than that, she, I believe, kind of tricked Ava into revealing the information that we have been waiting for Ava to tell anybody about all week long, which is that Zach and Vinny tried to flip the vote against Will last week. She did this by essentially, like, it's again, feeds were cutting, but like she pretended to know already that they did it. And at one point Ava was like, wait, how did you know about all of that? Which of course helps confirm that it was true. And Ashley's like, well, they weren't being very slick. I saw them huddle up. I saw them talk to you. I saw them ask you like where, so on and so forth. She later explains to Mickey and to Will a little bit that she really did just pretend like she knew it happened, and then Ava confirmed it. Ava very much did not, I think, intend to reveal this information, and that becomes even more clear later in the night, which we will get to. But Ashley now knows this information and continued to talk to Ava as though Ava were fully on board, in the sense that she was like, we need to keep Jimmy. Like, this is a problem. Vince and Zach are a problem, and Mickey really screwed up by putting Jimmy on the block, and we should really try to keep Jimmy. And so it was an interesting start to the day. A lot of people were very excited. Ava has finally revealed this information.
When it comes to Ashley and all of this, I feel like, on any given stock watch, right, you're trying to figure out one number that encompasses her entire week, right? Just her game to that point, and just her status in the game. Like, you know better than anybody how many factors go into those numbers. I feel like if you like looked at the back of her baseball card, the numbers would be, tens here's and ones here's. And obviously, like, as the season is going on, we're seeing some of those ones or twos rising up a little bit more, and some of the issues that she's had in the past that we were a little bit down on her for, again, just rising a little bit. But it's just so interesting how she could just be so down at one moment in the game, or just like our perception of how she's having some of these conversations, the way that her and Mickey had that falling out a night or two yesterday, 2 days ago, and how that's going to be such a big factor into today. And then she starts the day off so hot, and she's just like pulling information out that I'm like, did you even mean to do that as impressively as you did? Or did it just kind of naturally happen? I don't know. I love comparing players to past players and just making connections there. I don't know who Ashley is. I don't know who she is that we've seen before, that there's any kind of line. I'm sure they're out there, but it just doesn't come too naturally to me to say, oh yeah, she's just like so and so. She's Ashley.
Yeah. So an interesting start to the day. Feeds go down for a while, and we pretty correctly were able to presume that this was the gooing. Because really we thought that the gooing was happening when the veto ceremony happened, because that was happening so early. It was like, oh, goo before the veto ceremony, but no, it was not. It was the actual veto ceremony. But today on day 29, the gooing finally happens. And when the feeds come back, we learn that Rachel Rylie has been gooed for having the worst fashion sense. And it was a very strange return to the feeds, because Rachel was in the bathroom talking about how much her kids are going to love seeing this, like in fairly good spirits. And most of the rest of the house were just on the couches in the living room, like somber, as if somebody just died, as if somebody just kicked their puppy, because, as Mickey said, she does not like cats. So they are just somber. Catherine is pissed. She's like, wow, they couldn't have done something nice. And Kelly's like, I have a theory, but I can't say what it is. They're like, maybe there's some nice thing that happened with it, like a shopping spree. And Kelly's like, yeah, that's what I'll say, not mine. Shopping spree, shopping spree, shopping spree.
Wait, what did Kelly think happened?
I believe she was thinking about a power, as they were later going to speculate.
We're gonna get a little bit of that later. I don't know if she was thinking that like something actually like bad or weird happened. Do we even know where she got gooed? Because I don't think, was it in the living room and then they cleaned it up super fast? Because I didn't see any remnants.
I would assume it's the backyard.
That would make sense. But then, like you said, them all being back in on the couch as soon as they came back in, they don't usually just default to that spot.
Right. This is the whole thing, is that there's all this talk, and it's a little confusing about the various like envelopes, and the fact that Mickey was talking and given some sort of golden envelope, and they really, really heavily suspect that Rachel either got some kind of power along with the gooing, or that she is going to get some kind of power to go along with the gooing, and they are all terrified of it.
As are we. After this week, keep the powers to yourselves, please. We are good, even in the hands of Rachel. I just am afraid of whatever else could come this season. But yeah, Rachel getting good, not too surprising. When it came down to a vote, who's the most likely to get a vote that's not, a bad thing, or maybe it is a bad thing when it comes to members of the Rylie family getting votes in the past. But this time around seemed pretty harmless. And I don't think we have any reason to believe that there's a power attached to it. Rachel hasn't given any indication. You would think she would pull Jimmy aside, if nobody else, and say, hey, Jimmy, I got gooed and I got, a secret veto. I don't think there was anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a power, it would really be the next coming of Pandora's box, because
Yes.
There's no way they would have intended for there to be a power and not tell us.
And they would probably love to recreate a Rachel Pandora's box moment, but I don't think that's what happened. I don't think Mr. Spectacular was around. Maybe next time.
Rachel does seemingly eventually realize, it seems like she didn't initially come to this conclusion until she went back into like her room with Jimmy, and they were like looking at her. She was like, wait, Jimmy, it's all your fault, because they were looking at the shirt and everything. And then feeds cut again for a while. So but they definitely realized that it was all Jimmy's fault, that he got her gooed for her fashion sense.
Yes, I don't know that it's going to be a big factor in later the day, but Jimmy does end up wearing one of Rachel's vintage shirts later on in the day. Even has some game conversations in it, so I think they both are aware that this could make it onto the episode, now that they fought about the clothes, and now Jimmy's going to start wearing the clothes and they're bonding over the clothes.
He's like, yeah, it's actually not that bad. I mean, all I said was that it like, oh, did your child make this for you?
Yeah, didn't you? Where'd you get it? Remind me. Yeah, and I think the plan is that Jimmy's going to keep this shirt and just remember it fondly, remember Rachel fondly, long after the game is over. So if Jimmy ever has it up on one of those clothing resale apps at any point, better put it for a high price, where Rachel's going to be annoyed. But we'll see.
Well, the game talk continues. Ashley continues to talk with Will about the frustration with Mickey, and also lets him know, hey, I found this out. I confirmed this, that Vince and Zach were trying to flip the vote against you last week. And Will's like, yeah, I knew that. She's like, you knew? Like, confirmed? She's like, well, I suspected it. And he's like, well, who did you confirm it with? Who told you? She's like, Ava. I basically like was able to trick her into telling me. Will, for his part, is talking to Mickey and trash talking Ashley. Because Will, I think Will is trying to play like Vince, only not proactively, if that makes which says a lot, right?
Yeah. No, Will has always been someone that kind of lets the game come to him. He lets the people come to him and talk to him, whether he's, planted himself outside or a spot in the house. People come to him and they do genuinely want to talk to him. He's a good sounding board. He's just a well enough liked guy, especially for the people that do want to work with him and be around him. So when the game comes to him, yeah, he like loves to chat through some of these things and smooth things over. But it's interesting to see, because like the style of what he's trying to do, Vince is running around the house having the specific conversations he wants to have with specific people. Will is just, again, like letting it kind of happen to him. And so when he's able to kind of like navigate the conversation to appease the person that he's talking to and talk about the person they're talking about, which unfortunately ends up being Ashley for a good amount of the day today, it's not working out the exact same way. And plus, Will has had such little agency in the game so far. It's going to be really hard for me to like see this turning into anywhere near as successful as Vinny, of course, is having his run.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, from my perspective, there's just not a lot of value in talking about where Will stands, because I don't think he stands anywhere at the moment.
He doesn't.
Mickey was complaining to him about Ashley, and so he was trash talking Ashley. Ashley was complaining about Mickey to him, and so he was trash talking Mickey. And I think he will continue to do so until he's maybe forced to make some kind of decision, at which point who knows what decision he makes, probably the one with more people on that side. And so we'll see where that gets him. In the meantime, Jimmy talks to Vince and is going on his campaign trail. The most important, or the most sort of like interesting conversation, is the one that he has with Vince, where Vince, of course, pretends, as he is the more active Will, that he is on Jimmy's side. Hey, the two of us, from the very start, and Vince always does it too, in the way that's like, of course I'm on your side. Like we basically gave each other HOHs back and forth, and like you chose me for the thing, and then I won, and then you won the next week. I mean, like we've been like day ones basically. Of course I'm on your side, Jimmy. Like, yeah, let's get the votes.
We know what Vinny's been up to. We know the way that he navigates the game. Like, we see the type of player that he is, and obviously that's a good one. You've talked a lot about, the path of success that he, pretty clearly has lined up ahead. I do wonder if like this could be a week. We're seeing Jimmy do a lot of, good small conversations, trying to get people on his side. If at any point it becomes clear to him that he doesn't have the votes, or if he feels like he just wants to go out of the game with a bang, someone like a Vinny could be a very easy target for him to expose everything about. And if that ever came to be, I don't think Vinny's reaction would be as put together as it is in these one-on-ones. Like we're going to talk about later, Vinny and Rachel's conversation and how he tries to smooth things over there. It's just like, if any of these people who could come at him a little bit differently, especially in a more public setting, I kind of want to see it. I feel like it's not going to go anywhere near as well as these conversations go, because he's got this mastered down. You know, the way that he can talk to a Jimmy and make him feel like, yeah, of course I'm on your side. No, he's not, but he does it well.
Yeah, and you know, this is where he gets messy. Like this is just a step too far. There's really not any reason for him to be doing this with Jimmy. I don't think Vince has it in him to say no to someone. But because he's being so aggressively like saying yes to Jimmy,
Of course.
Jimmy is then going around saying, "I've got Vince's vote. Vince is down for this. In fact, I asked Vince to help gather votes for me," and that's sketchy to people like Mickey, who is like, "Why is Vince being asked? How is it that Jimmy still feels so close to Vince that he's asking Vince to round up votes for him? He didn't ask Rachel or Ashley to round up votes for him, but he genuinely went for Vince to try to get him to do this." And even Morgan was like, "Dude." He needs to stop. He needs to not be promising Jimmy so much, because it just makes him look like it just makes you look like you're playing everyone again, like Vince. Like you need to chill.
When in reality, I would still say that the way that Vinny is approaching this is still putting him in somewhat of a better position than, you know, Morgan and Mickey. I mean, there's so many more factors, but just their wishy-washiness with Jimmy, I feel like he's going to be mad at a lot of people on his way out. And again, if he decides to like blow anyone's games up, I don't know. I feel like he's maybe a little bit less likely to come after Vinny, who was, you know, Vinny, just like he has been. Like he'll play it off last minute, like, oh, just at the last minute, everybody else was voting one way, so I just had to jump on board. I didn't know, but make it seem like he was with him all week. I feel like it could end up being an okay path for him to go down. I don't know.
I just feel like the obvious answer here, because Jimmy doesn't believe him either, for the record. He's going around saying what Vince told him, but Jimmy doesn't actually buy what Vince is selling. Right. So he's doing that for nothing. And the obvious answer here is just, you know what, Jimmy, I did hear a lot of things, but I'm definitely open to hearing what you have to say, and I'll think about it. That's what every other player in existence does, Vince, and it's very effective. Like just
he's a very afraid conversationalist, and again, we're going to see that in a much bigger way later on.
So Jimmy has that conversation with Vince, and then Ava goes up and has a conversation with Mickey, and she crashes out about Ashley, like bad. I've never seen Ava more angry, upset, and focused in the game. Not even when Will was nominated, not even when they pitched for Will to leave, as when she talks to Mickey about how much she despises Ashley for ever daring to say that she was willing to keep Jimmy in the game.
Yeah, Ava Pearl became Ava clutching her pearls throughout the day today when it came to talking about Ashley. She is over her. And I don't know how that happened so quickly. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago when she was, so specifically upset because Ashley came to her with the idea of like targeting within their own group. And, that was so horrific of an idea because, I mean, look, hey, in Big Brother, you got to float these ideas around, but that turned her off so much, and then all of a sudden she's just so against her now.
It was this conversation this morning. She was like, because Ashley basically had the conversation that she's been having with Will, which is like, Mickey screwed us by putting up Jimmy, and Ava's like, that disloyal B. Like, I'm all about loyalty. I don't like talking about allies behind their backs, and I can't believe she was doing that to you, Mickey. The fact that she wants to keep Jimmy around when Jimmy's like not been good for anybody's game makes no sense. Like, honestly, her ass can be up next. That shit pissed me the F off. She's just, I'm telling you, she is crashing out.
At the end of the day, as Ava told us in the preseason, she's a New Yorker. She's a Long Islander. And she has probably witnessed many a crash out from, she talked about, her family members that may be on, the kookier side. And she's like, I'm not afraid if I have to bring that side out of me. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit here, where she is finally really just feeling frustrated by, a situation in the game, one of the other players. And she does seem to, as we're going to see also here throughout the day, feel really comfortable telling Mickey just about anything. I kind of get it in the sense of, Mickey kept her totally safe this week. There's nothing that she specifically had to worry about while Mickey was in power. So may as well confide in the person that you're still perceiving to be in power, even though at this point, her power's essentially over. But yeah, a lot of big reactions from the Ava Pearl stands throughout all social media yesterday of, because I think there's a lot of crossover between Ava stands and Ashley stands. So to have this after the week that we've had of all the faves turning on each other, and now these two, we can't get along. It's just one thing after another.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, if you haven't seen the stuff from yesterday yet, and this is your first time hearing it, this is just the beginning of Ava today. It is one of a couple of things that she did. So Will ends up joining them in the conversation, and as they are talking about Ashley, and he goes, "Yeah, I love the girl, but she's playing a dangerous game," and he will then continue and join in on the bashing of Ashley. They agree. Ashley's basically dead to them. She can go up on the block. She can be targeted next week. Whatever. She's kicked out of the group now. And Mickey's like, "Yeah, let's get rid of Ashley." Now, how would you guys feel about Catherine and Rylie instead? They're like, yeah. She's like, well, because like Rylie will basically do anything I say, and Catherine will do anything Rylie says. So they're pretty good for us.
I know I don't need to rehash all of this. It's been, the topic of the season of the week here, but we were just so close to getting the Rylie backdoor on his own HOH week, or at least getting Catherine up and one of them going home. And, it's not a reality. We are completely in the opposite camp, where it honestly feels like if you're doing like a stock watch just based off of safety in the next week, 2-3 weeks, Rylie and Kat aren't going anywhere, or at least Riley's not.
Mm-hmm. They talk more about how ungrateful Ashley is after Mickey's been keeping her off the block. Mickey has come up with this lie that I think she genuinely believes that Jimmy has been trying to get Ashley out of the game for weeks, and she's the only thing that held Jimmy back.
Yeah, what the heck's that
Ashley
about?
leaving. She keeps saying it, like even to herself and to Morgan. It's not even remotely true, but she seems to very much believe it. She has entered into a delusional world where Jimmy is literally the devil. And Ava then continues again, because this is not just like a one-time emotional outburst. This conversation lasts for a while. Toward the end of the conversation, she continues. I just can't believe Ashley, she was being all nice while you still could put her on the block. But then as soon as you couldn't put her on the block anymore, she showed her true colors and threw an effing fit. And it's just like, I'm telling you, the rage in her eyes. She is done.
And this is pre-alcohol. Alcohol is going to come later in the day, and it's only going to get, worse, or I don't know, maybe the same, but it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. I understand, if Ava doesn't vibe with Ashley, I get, maybe she's just not appreciating the way that Ashley's coming at the game and trying to use Ava in her own game with her own plans, and they just aren't aligning with the way that Ava sees the game herself. I don't know if Ava's buying into like the Morgan and Mickey good people, kind of vibe that they have going on of like, we're keeping the right good people in the game. It's just,
they had a whole pat themselves on the back moment, Ava and Mickey, about how loyal they are.
Great. We lost her.
So Mickey, of course, goes to Morgan and tells her all about this. Hey, you'll never guess what Ava told me about what Ashley's doing, and Morgan jumps on board, leaps on board. They talk some more trash about Ashley, how ungrateful she is, and how she should be targeted next week. She's straight up targeted next week.
Yeah. Imagine that world. We're already this far in deep. We've already had them come after one of their own. Jimmy, of course, being the target of this week. I mean, we're maybe looking at a world where if Jimmy is, firmly gone, is what they're idealizing, that, then Ashley would be next. But imagine a world where Jimmy is not actually gone, and then they're still are they gonna look after getting out Ashley next week, or are they gonna return to trying to get Jimmy out? All when all of these people were on their side until they blew up their own games. I guess so.
Yeah, she just literally just like murdered her friend, and then her other friend is like, "Whoa, why would you do that?" And then she's like, "How could you turn on me like this, other friend? I need to murder you now too. It's all your fault that I have to do this."
That's the whole thing, and they're so like they're justifying these murders because you have Kat and Rylie there that they feel like are perfectly worthwhile replacements. Mickey had one conversation with Kat this week, and it was, so, we haven't talked a lot of game, but I know that like you're good with Rylie, I'm good with Rylie. We'll use this opportunity to build. They haven't talked once since. It's just like all this trust through Rylie. It makes no sense. I know a lot of it has to do with, the way that Rylie and Mickey have connected through faith and whatnot, and that's bringing them together, and that, is the way that they're bonding, and that's fine. But it's just, how did we get here? Crazy.
So we then continue in the vein of all of the smack talking. Kelly's birthday party happens. And everyone is being very nice. And by everyone, I mean some people are being very nice, and celebrating Kelly's birthday and trying to make her have like a nice night. Of course, Mickey and Morgan go upstairs and continue to crash out about Ashley, and then also about Kelly. Mickey says a line that has been going around that she's like, yeah, and honestly, Kelly needs to go now too, because that dinner pissed me off. I'll be honest. I get that it's your birthday, but you're not even like 100% deserving of all of this.
What does that mean? Like, what are we doing? You're not deserving of a birthday? We've gone too far. Like, we've had so many house guests over the course of, self-righteous house guests, people that just like, HOH-itis, all of the things that have gone into Mickey and Morgan's disastrous week here. But she doesn't even deserve, like, even Keisha's birthday, no one was saying she doesn't deserve a birthday.
They all sung,
every one of them. But Kelly doesn't deserve the birthday cake or the celebrations or the singing. I mean, yeah, Morgan's talking about, I think she was mentioning how like Ashley was being extra fake and whatnot. And she's like, well, I'm not being that fake. Like, I'm up here. I spent the appropriate amount of time downstairs celebrating, and now I'm back to what I normally would have been doing tonight. And I can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to continue the conversation from yesterday as well, there have been even more quotes from Mickey talking about how Jimmy does not carry himself in the ways that God intends, which is continuing to, I think, trigger a lot of people about, the ways in which she is not only sort of like bringing religion into the game in a way to put Jimmy down, but the ways in which that she then also mocked Jimmy and his mannerisms and all of that. And so it's just continuing to be just it's getting bad.
Yeah, look, Big Brother's always put in, a bunch of people from all walks of life, and the whole point of the game is to see how they interact and play the game with one another. Jimmy, I think, I don't think he's heard much of this. The way that Mickey has talked about him and all of this specific part of the conversation. If it ever did get back to him within the game, I still kind of feel like Jimmy will be wise enough to, if he still needs Mickey in the game, kind of use her in the game. But like, as far as, looking ahead to after the season, once he does see all of this, that'll be between the two of them to figure out. I can't imagine Jimmy's going to want to be best friends with her. But again, that's their business. For now, it's just our business because we're the ones watching it. And, as we have seen, a pretty big shift in the amount of people rooting for Mickey at this point, just based on a variety of factors this week. So it has been a rough one. And just 5 days ago, we had so much hope.
So in the meantime, Rachel has a conversation with Vinny. They finally get together and have their long talk. And And it is a long conversation. They, Rachel is talking about her personal life. Vinny is talking about his personal life. Rachel later explains that he cried like 4 times. And she's talking about how they have pizzas every Friday, but her daughter doesn't like cheese, so they have to go to, I don't know, one of those pizza places she's like, hear me out.
Oh,
And
like a Blaze pizza, you make your own, and they just ask for no cheese.
no, it's like Little Caesars or something, like
Yeah,
one of
well,
those.
any of those, you could probably just ask for no cheese, and it's simple enough.
Right.
It's for my kid.
And so, a long conversation there, and like it feels like a good conversation. And at the end of it, Rachel's like, Vinny. At the end of it, Vinny is like, I'm just so happy that we had this conversation. Just like I feel like I'm like the last person to get to know you, and I just don't want to be like at the other end of like. I just don't want you to be against me in the game. And Rachel's like, I don't want to be against you either. And let's just start over. Hi, I'm Rachel. I played Big Brother a couple of times. Listen, it's a nice enough conversation.
She gets a couple of underhanded, I don't know if dig is the right word in this, just like comments of, I didn't know you were such a super fan of the game. I didn't know you were, such a just big fan, and this meant so much to you to be here and all of this stuff. Just kind of like acknowledging, like, I see you, I know who you are. I know what you're doing. It is a nice conversation in the sense that Rachel, realizes there's no harm for her game in talking out with Vinny when he obviously is coming to, like, we're not yet at the point where Vinny is a declared enemy in the way that like a Zay was week 1, where Rachel is like, oh, let me go all in on this guy. At a certain point, if the opportunity arises that Vinny can be a target, whether it's a Rachel HOH or somebody she's working closely with, and they can try to get out Vinny, oh, she's going to go all the way in the same way that she loves to when she can find that person for herself. In the meantime, yeah, fine, simple conversation, but it's so like Vinny is squirming through it all. Like, he is so transparent with her about the fact that he just, please don't be mad at me. Please don't hate me. Please don't come after me. Please don't make me Zay. Please don't make me the target. Like, I know what you can do. I don't want to be that person. I'm playing a nice game here. I want to get to know you. I think if he approached this from the angle of just, let's get to know each other better, because clearly there's a disconnect here. Like, but like, just pretend for even a second, say, game aside, like, I don't care about the game. I really like you as a person, and you're coming after me and this and that. But like, can we just like connect it all? And she'll probably see through it. But even just admitting to her that he doesn't want her coming after him in the game, I'm like, this is not changing any bit of the perception she has of you. And I can't blame her for that.
Mm-hmm. So yes, Rachel does talk to Jimmy afterward and says basically like, he's good at those conversations, but he's very messy. Like, he's so obvious in the game too. Like, she's like, people in this house are really bad at the game.
It's almost like everybody's bad at the game. Yeah, she's going to talk to Ava about that and just say, maybe no one's good at Big Brother.
Mm-hmm. And she does. She talks to Ava. They have a little final 2 talk, and Ava is giving her nothing again. It's mostly a personal conversation about, Ava's like, oh, I'm so bad at this. And Rachel's like, honestly, you're not. Like, you're good socially. I think you're playing a good game. That's because Rachel doesn't know that Ava is crashing out. And in the middle of this conversation, Ava leaves, and Mickey grabs her and says, what are you talking to Rachel about? And Ava says, oh, she's trying to get me to vote Jimmy to stay. It's like, that wasn't even the conversation.
No.
But they're like, yeah, she's crazy, says Ava. I can't believe she would want Jimmy to stay. She's like obsessed with him. And Mickey's like, wow, Rachel really thinks she's slick, huh?
You also do have Ava admitting in this conversation. So, it's Kelly's birthday. The drinks have started flowing a bit. And Ava, I think in this specific conversations mentions, I think I'm a little wine drunk at this point. So, when she's talking to Rachel about, how bad whoever is at the game, but then running off to Mickey, I'm like, maybe she was just misremembering. I don't know how, deep down she's gone down this well of her wine glass, but somewhat of a factor in the late
I mean,
night here.
Mickey later tries to get her to clarify, and Ava is almost forced to admit that Rachel wasn't actually trying to get her to vote to keep Jimmy. She just said that she wanted to keep Jimmy. But again, it felt like she was reluctantly saying that because she wanted to spin it as Rachel is pushing this. I don't know why, other than she just hates Jimmy this much that she can't stand anybody trying to keep Jimmy in the game. But she very much did that like mid conversation. In the meantime, Morgan tells Zach and Vince about all of the Ashley stuff, and they all agree that she needs to be targeted soon. And they're just continuing to have all of their conversations. Rachel and Ashley are the primary targets heading into next week for pretty much all of them at this point. And then Ashley talks with Rachel and Jimmy. And Jimmy is basically like, guys, I'm so grateful for you, like sticking it out with me. I'm never going to forget this. Nice little personal conversation. And he tries to warn Ashley. He says, Ashley, I need you to know, like, you can't trust Zach. He, like, for a long time has been looking to put you on the block. He even said, like, oh, I can't wait to put her, to make her a have-not. He was, like, really excited about it. Finally, after all of the trash talking Zach has done about Ashley, somebody is telling her so that she knows. And of course, she doesn't believe it.
Nope. Why would she? This has been a very frustrating theme of this season, where certain individuals are just not even thinking twice about the possibility of. I mean, it's been pretty specifically Zach or Vince, having not their best interests in mind, not being as down with the alliance, with them as a person, with this specific circumstance of Zach having had some things to say about Ashley, and we don't buy it because we just believe in Zach and Vince so much, and particularly here with Zach because this relationship between him and Ashley every time that they're hanging out together seems to be just fine, and sometimes a little fun and sometimes a little flirty. So why would you believe that behind your back that what's it Zach is saying these things? But at this point, like, Jimmy has just come up to you and is, thanking you so much. Like, you clearly are on the same page at this point in the game. He is appreciating you all that. Like, he's giving you correct information. There's
no
just
reason for him to lie about this. It does nothing for his game.
I don't know. I loved Rachel's analysis of the game of Big Brother, in that conversation with Ava. And I was like, can we go even further? Can we keep talking about it? And just, why do we just not believe things sometimes? Why are we so blinded by, our personal relationships with people in that house that we can't even for a second begin to think that maybe at some point they did have things to say? Like, everyone's talking about everyone.
It is giving Quinn and Leah, to be honest. It's early stages. We'll see if it persists past the point of sanity. But yes, she did not really believe this. She talked to Rachel about it afterwards, said she didn't believe it. Rachel then went to Jimmy and said, you shouldn't have said that. She's not, like, basically ready to hear this. So Jimmy actually then goes back to Ashley and walks it back a little bit. And Ashley's like, oh, good, thank you. And so it got worse, basically.
Yeah, Jimmy was like, oh, by the way, like, that conversation I was talking about, like, we were just joking. Like, it was more of like a lighthearted, like, I don't think Zach actually was going to come for you. And Ashley's like, oh, okay, good. Like genuinely glad to hear that Zach wasn't actually planning to come for her, when the only reason they had to, break that into a more manageable, digestible, joking conversation of sorts is literally because Ashley just didn't believe it the first time, and Rachel and Jimmy can't afford right now to have Ashley feel a certain type of way about them for sharing that information.
And what I will say is it was more so the have not comment that he was saying was a joke. I think he didn't try to walk back the coming that would put you on the block as much, but very much was like, yeah, I mean, I just like wanted you to know we were probably like joking. There's in a joking context that he would want to put you on the block as a have, or that he would want to make you a have not. And so, Ashley got a small taste of maybe you shouldn't trust Zach as much. Not that like she, because again, I think that she, in her mind, she already has come to the conclusion that Zach is working too closely with Vinny and Morgan and Lauren and Mickey now. And so she knows that she can't like rely on him in the game. But the idea that he would be excited about making her have not, that is definitely not something that she is able to accept at the moment, because she thinks that they still have this great relationship, which is unfortunately not the case, especially as the night goes and continues, and Zach and Vinny and Morgan and Lauren are all like just dunking on Ashley even more after the information they got from Mickey that came from Ava, and talking about targeting Ashley even more, literally to the point where Lauren had to be like, guys, can we chill on the Ashley bashing? Like, and so, you know, maybe someday we'll get there.
It's definitely so, everybody's kind of coming at this conversation with different motivations. Zach, I feel like, is firmly kind of keeping the game out in front for the most part, where it's like he sees that Ashley is a target. He is fine with her being a target. Then you just unfortunately have like anytime that Morgan enters the conversation, it always just gets weirdly uncomfortably personal. And it's just like ripping apart everything that Ashley has said, done, looked at, whatever, for the week. And there's no reason for it besides the fact that Mickey and Morgan have, after the Ashley and Mickey conversation from 2 days ago, have firmly decided Ashley is the enemy now. And, unless anything changes, which maybe, we'll see how the next conversation goes with them, but it's getting ugly. It's getting personal. And there's just no need for any of it.
Mm-hmm. So Ashley has, though, again, the Zach thing is like really one of her few and potentially only blind spots in the game, because she's already caught on to the fact that like even after their fight the night before, things have changed even more with Mickey. She's being even colder to her, and she knows she needs to go and talk to Mickey. And so she talks to Jimmy and Rachel about it, and they give her some advice on like what she should say and how she should basically like, like just do her best to repair that bridge, because it's very bad for all of them if they're at each other's throats. And so she goes up and talks to Mickey, and basically is like, hey, Mickey, what's up? Like, I feel like things have been weird. And Mickey does the exact same thing she did with Jimmy, which is basically like, what do you mean? No, everything's fine. But Ashley, unlike Jimmy, really continues to press the issue, and really just forces the conversation out of Mickey. This ends up being a long conversation where Ashley is explaining just like, it's not like I'm trying to go against you. I just feel like I talked to Jimmy and he swore that he was never coming for me. And Mickey's like, that's a lie. He's been trying to get you out the whole time. She's like, maybe I'm getting played by Jimmy, but I just felt like I feel like I'm looking out for your game, because I don't think it was good for you to put Jimmy on the block if he was never coming for either of us. And then kind of either pretends to be convinced by Mickey that Jimmy actually is lying and was always coming for them and this was a good move, or maybe genuinely starts to believe it. I don't know that it was genuine, because it doesn't make any sense. But she does then later go to Ava and says, we're not keeping Jimmy anymore. I think also, though, that was all still part of the plan. I can't ever overestimate a player in this house, so I'm going to leave open the possibility that she was genuinely convinced, but my guess would be that she was just pretending that Mickey convinced her. And so they're doing this, and they're having this conversation. Ashley also then tells Mickey about what she heard from Ava, or what she was able to extract from Ava, which is that Vinny and Zach tried to flip the vote on Will last week. And by the end of this conversation, they're pretty good. They're definitely, the things have been repaired to a decent degree. And so like they're kind of in a better headspace, at least from Mickey's point of view.
Yeah, I give Ashley, plenty of credit here for being persistent in this conversation where, as you mentioned, like Jimmy just kind of, has the conversation, realizes that, maybe this isn't perfect, but just kind of like lets it be. And that's kind of exactly what he did with the conversation with Vinny, his pitch to Lauren, just kind of like, I'm going to say what I have to say, and then I'm going to let it go. Ashley and Mickey spent all of last week getting even closer. Obviously, like there was a strong connection between the two of them. All fell apart in that argument in the HOH room when Mickey left the room. And now we have this here. Like I'm kind of like picturing them like walking around a track, like at your school track, and like they take a lap around and they're talking to each other and they have their conversation. And by the time they get back to like the starting point, Ashley's like, that wasn't a good enough talk. Like, let's go again. And then they go again and they go around it a whole nother time. And then they get back to home base and still it's not good enough. Ashley is going to start to press more and be like, Mickey, you're like, this is still off. Like something is still off here. We were obviously so good and you're still cold with me. And by the time that they get around to like the final lap where Ashley finally is comfortable with the conversation, it's because she shifted it a bit and she's turned on the waterworks and she's gotten much more emotional, talking through why she feels so hurt by Mickey. I was looking out for you. We were talking about the possibility of what if Jimmy wins the battle back, what if Jimmy wins the blockbuster? And if he does, then he stays in the game, and then your game is in danger. And maybe that's why you shouldn't have put him up in the first place. But I'm worried about you. Like I am your friend and your ally, and you're being like you were cold to me, you were rude to me. And Mickey kind of starts to ease into understanding where Ashley's coming from at that point. Because look, when emotions come into play, I think she's a little bit more open than just like words. So yeah, by the end of it did feel like they were making progress towards that place, especially because then Morgan's going to, continue to make anti-Ashley comments and maybe Mickey is slowing down a little bit when it comes to that. But I don't know that this is, at least during the remainder of this HOH reign of this week, is going to feel firmly fixed until like Jimmy's out of the house. And then maybe they can continue to rehash this. But if Jimmy stays, I mean, a whole different story. So, but Ashley tried.
Yes. And pretty effective conversation for Mickey, or from Ashley to Mickey, because Mickey does then back off of the let's target Ashley thing. And she tries to talk to Morgan about it. I'm skipping an Ava conversation just to put a button on this bit. Tries to talk to Morgan about it. And Morgan's like, meh, I still want to target Ashley though, which starts to frustrate Mickey. But the first thing she does after the Ashley conversation is she runs straight to Ava, pulls her out of bed, and says, hey, so I was just thinking about, and just it does like, so Ashley explained how she managed to extract this information from Ava. And Mickey uses the exact same lines that Ashley told her to do the same thing. She doesn't say, Ashley told me about this. She says, oh, so I noticed that there was a huddle before does the exact same thing that Ashley said. Now, this time, I believe Ava is more prepared to come up with some kind of alternative story, but is still like being confronted with an obvious truth. And so Mickey asks her, did Zach and Vinny approach you trying to flip the vote? And Ava is like, I mean, it's like, yeah, a little bit. They asked me like where my vote was. And but I don't know that, they were trying to flip the vote so much as like, just wondering if they were there. Like, cause like, basically I think that Zach, like basically what I said is like, why would we do that? Why would we do that? And Zach was like, yeah, I agree. Like Zach was on my side. Vinny maybe was a little bit more like I want to vote for Adrian's name, but Zach was totally fine. And Mickey's like, but they both approached you to try to flip the vote together. She's like, yeah, but. I feel like Zach wasn't as on board with that as much as maybe Vinny was. So I don't know. And she's like,
so possibly drunken Ava, with all of this aside, are you reading into this at all in the way that I am, that maybe Mickey is starting to have some regrets?
You could tell that the formation of this like barrier in her mind that is like, I have made the correct decision. There are cracks in it. And what that means is she might try to refortify as much as possible, but we'll continue to talk over the course of the night about how much she's like, oh, no, I made the right decision. Obviously, I made the right decision. It's just that next week we need to take out Vinny. So,
Right.
I mean, I did what I had to do, but next week we have to do Vinny or we're screwed.
Right. Definitely didn't make sense to do him this week, even though Ashley was telling me to, Rachel was telling me to. No, we made the right call here.
It'll be the mistake of the next HOH if they don't target Vinny, because then that will screw us all.
Yes, exactly. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Mickey, whatever. But yeah, it's the picture's being painted a little bit clearer. And I'll for one be really interested next week to see how the Morgan and Mickey dynamic, of course, last week wasn't as perfect. This week is really good for the two of them. They're back on the same page, common enemy. But if Mickey continues to keep an eye on Vince and Zach, who Morgan is attached to, could it be interesting? I'm not ready to jump back in anytime soon on the Mickey boat, but you know, it will be interesting to see if she's any more receptive to the people that have been preaching against Vinny.
Right, because she has this conversation with Morgan. She tries to say to Morgan, like, hey, I talked to Ashley. I think that the whole thing was like overblown, essentially. I think she's fine. And Morgan is saying, like, no, because by this point, Morgan is, oh, by the way, when Ashley talked to Mickey, she told Mickey about how Jimmy tried to convince her that Zach was coming after her. And this is the one bit where it's like, it is possible that she really is mad at Jimmy for this. And Mickey then ran that to Morgan, who ran it to Zach. And so Zach now knows that Jimmy told Ashley that he was coming for her, which is only furthering his desire to take Ashley out of the game because she might know that he's coming for her now. And so that's all being thrown around. And Mickey and Morgan is basically telling Mickey, like, nah, I think that Ashley and Rachel are too big of a problem. They need to be taken care of. And Mickey runs back to Ava and she's complaining to Ava about Morgan. She's like, Morgan's pissing me off right now. She won't listen to me about Ashley. And she tells Ava about her conversation with Ashley because she's like, I talked to Ashley and we had a great conversation. And Ava's like, I mean, was it just her putting her tail between her legs and coming back to you, though? Like, I don't know. And she's like, yeah, Morgan's pissing me off because she keeps saying she wants to come after Ashley still. And Ava's like, I mean, does it really matter if it's not you? I feel like as long as it's not me, like, I'm happy for you to target people. And it's like,
yeah, no, now Mickey and Ava, they're the pair for now. And what we learned, I feel like, over the course of the day is that this is probably not new information about how Ava is kind of navigating this game. But if Mickey feels like she can really rely on Ava going forward, it's not going to be, I think, her best game plan. You know, the fact that they're forming something that feels a little bit more solid, you know, this deep into the game, it's not that deep, but as far as they are into the game, you know, worthwhile enough. But Ava will, as far as I can tell, throw Mickey right under the bus next week if she needs to, if the cards fall in such a way. And Ava's going to be the one that's more safe because Mickey's obviously got her head much farther out in front right now. So I don't know that this is going to be good.
Ava prides herself on her loyalty. She would never do that.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. I smell the regret in the air and it smells delicious.
Ashley goes to Ava after all of this and says, hey, that whole thing about Jimmy, scratch it all. We're not going to vote to keep Jimmy. And Ava's like, It's like, are you okay? Like, I just don't want to talk game right now. You know, I just like can't even speak to Ashley.
She does it in a way that kind of comes across like, you know, her usual Ava Pearl, like, you know, I'm being silly self. So it's kind of like, I'm just girl, like, I'm good. It's after 12 o'clock. I told myself I don't talk game after 12 o'clock. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. And Ashley's like, okay, but you're not mad at me, right? And she's like, no. Just ready for bed. I'm good. I'm clocking out. Time to go. Talk to you tomorrow. She doesn't want to talk to her tomorrow.
And yeah, I'm seeing people like, oh yeah, like man, this is like such like floater this isn't floater behavior. Like a floater stays good with people and doesn't actively target people that they could work with.
It was a bad
Anyway,
day. We'll recover, Ava Nation. Don't worry. Hopefully.
just listen. So Morgan is pissed off at Ashley and Jimmy even more, because now how is she getting all this heat for Morgan is mad that Ashley that Mickey came to her trying to protect Ashley again all of a sudden, when she knows that Ashley means that like Ashley's going to pick Mickey over her, and is all of a sudden blaming Morgan for the Jimmy move and not Mickey. Like, why am I getting blamed for this? I didn't do anything. And she's also mad that Rachel had a conversation with Vince, and now Rachel is also being cold to her. So now she feels like Vince is also good with people like Rachel, and now she's getting all the heat from Rachel too. And so she's dedicated to, it's got to be Ashley and Rachel that get targeted now. This just spirals on for a while, and these, the melting pot and Laura, and they have long conversations in the night about basically targeting Ashley and Rachel. And
she's crashing out because Zach called her mom. Kind of. He comes up on Morgan and Vince hanging out, talking, and just, I think she's like, "Oh, sit down." And then he's like, "All right, mom and dad." And she's like, "Don't call me that. How dare you?" She completely loses it and says that's going to be her 13th reason if you ever call me mom again. Which, fair. I don't think it's, in any kind of way, she's crushing on him. She doesn't want him to be calling her that most of the time. Probably, maybe. I don't know. That's their business. But she doesn't like it. She's got a lot going on. How does Morgan make it to the jury at this point? Like, she's just, I mean, through Vinny and Zach, I guess is the answer, through them still feeling like, she's loyal and doing work on their ends to keep her around. But by all accounts, this is a pre-jury crash out if I've ever seen one.
I mean, for better or worse, she is one of the more active players in a house of very not active people, and it has given her a lot of power. She's basically run every single week and every single vote, aside from the Amy one. Many of those were good for her. This one, not so much. But it should carry her to jury, I would say.
It's just a matter of like, if the shot lands and she's on the block, however that happens in the next couple of weeks, and if she's the one running around to try to get votes for herself, at that point I think there's so many people that are just like, you want my vote? You?
Yeah, I mean, I would say because again, Mickey and Morgan are now still trusting Keanu, despite the fact that Keanu very much is gunning for them. What I will say though is that, like, because Keanu still has Ashley and Rachel to target, I think Mickey is more likely to be the third person that is in his sights rather than Morgan, because people like Vinny and Zach will be pushing Keanu to not target Mickey or Morgan at all. But we've already seen Keanu put up some resistance to that with Vinny, saying, "I really think we need to be targeting Mickey and Morgan." But I would imagine that the sort of like the compromise is, I won't touch Morgan, but I'm going after Mickey. And I think that Vince and Zach will be like, that's fine.
Yeah. Morgan's found the correct allies in Zach and Vince, the exact right people that hopefully can help her, despite a lot of her gameplay being so erratic, and the way that she talks and has these conversations and talks about other people and whatnot. But it's just been very messy. And, for anybody else out there that was rooting for what previously was that side of the house, now we just get to root for the chaos and the crash outs that are inevitable over the course of however long these people still stay in the game. So it's not nothing.
Yeah. So that's about what I've got for you today. Matt, anything else that you wanted to bring up?
Rachel gets a good one in on Mickey during the day. I don't know if we mentioned this, where she's just talking to Mickey about how, it was so brave and bold of her to do what she did this week and whatever. And Mickey's like, yeah, I know it was a hard decision, but, I just thought that, Jimmy going in the block made the most sense. Rachel's like, oh, no, I didn't mean that. I meant, you taking the HOH. I still think you made the wrong move. And Mickey's just like, oh, okay. So there's that. Also, a viral clip going around the internet. Well, NSFW, but Rylie. Maybe the most viral moment of the Big Brother season so far. I don't imagine it's come across your radar. Him and Kat were on the couch outside, and she was laying kind of, I think her feet were like across him. So you can imagine maybe what's going on with Rylie with that much physical intimacy. Kat pulled the blanket off, and the rest is history.
Oh, God.
Virally on Twitter. When I say viral, I mean like 100,000 likes on said video of what was revealed. Not all the way. Anyway, that's more for the slop. Check out the slop, Chappelle and Rob. I'm sure it'll come up there. But truly, I think the most viral clip of the season so far. And since we didn't talk about them anywhere else today, there we go. Kelly and Keanu also still in this game.
They are. Yeah.
What a house. What a season. We're having fun.
All right. Well, tune into the slop next week. All right. Well, that is what we have for you then today. Moving into Wednesday, it really does feel like the vote is pretty close to dead in the water. Again, I will say that like there were some conversations from Mickey that did feel like the way that she was talking, you should logically come to the conclusion that maybe Jimmy shouldn't leave. But I think that there are, like, even if she was able to finally flip her mind into that mode, which I don't think she will. I don't think she's going to be able to admit that it was a mistake. Even if she did, she still, I don't think, has the time or the social capital to flip Morgan, Vince, and Zach. I think the three of them will all be locked in, and they will, like, again, because Morgan gives Vince and Zach is a backbone. And so with her support against what Mickey wants, even if Mickey did decide she wanted to flip the vote again to save Jimmy, I don't think that she's going to be able to do it. So I will say that this vote continues to remain fairly locked in that if Jimmy does not win this blockbuster, he's gone.
Yeah, and I don't think she's ultimately going to land on wanting to flip it back. She's just
Right.
had, such a desire to take Jimmy out. And I understand, of course, we have talked through a couple different reasons and whatnot as to why maybe more Mickey is starting to slightly feel a little bit differently than she did, maybe looking at Vince. But I don't think she's going to feel, I need Jimmy around to help me take that shot. Jimmy already betrayed me his week, HOH week. We felt this type of way, and everything else that she has tried to justify why he ended up going on the block. I think, all it's going to take is still some gentle nudges from Morgan, Zach, and Vince to say, no, you're doing the right thing. We did the right thing. We're coming out on top this week, and she's going to feel fine next week, though. Would love to have the cameras on Mickey throughout next week. I guess it's not going to be as fun if her side wins power, but if her side does not win power and the regrets start to really show, we'll be watching. So we'll see. Sounds like a knockout comp for this week's HOH.
We'll see. All right. Well, that is what we have for you then today. Of course, if you haven't already, check out my book, Behind the Mirror, that I wrote about Big Brother. You can pre-order it at taranarmstrong.com. It's been very cool seeing people talk about it and interested in checking it out. So please, if you haven't already, check it out. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 27 live feeds. I'll be live tonight on YouTube and Twitch watching the episode, and then there'll be a podcast afterwards. So check all of that out. Matt, what about you?
I am talking all things The Challenge on the Free Agents podcast with Brian Scally. New season has started and it's been very fun so far. A really good premiere. And then also on the Diary Room podcast with Aman, who's been very busy, unable to really join much of the BB27 discourse, but we have a lot of episodes banked right now, including this week's episode with Quinn. We just talked about him earlier this podcast. Quinn joined us this week. We're trying to find the best player in Big Brother history on the Diary Room. And so join us this week with Quinn and plenty more fun guests coming up. And that's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will see all of you next time.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.